Okay, this is, I guess it's installment 4 of wiring a big house in the Philippines with complicated wiring. I bought my inline, well, actually, DIN-mounted fuse holders from a company here. This HONGYI YUEQING HONGYI Imperial Import and Export Company Limited, and there's their phone numbers and stuff. They're listed on Alibaba, and they sell all kinds of stuff. For instance, wrenches, hand tools, power tools of virtually any description, cordless or corded. They have warehouse stock. That's not always the case with Alibaba. A lot of times you have to wait for it to be manufactured, and that can be 2 months. We're dealing in small orders. We're not buying 10 containers. So they get them all stacked up, and then they run through them. I've got good service from these people. They got some pretty nice 6-way crimpers that fit a bunch of different sizes. And also, going in what the price is with these people. They'll send you a catalog. Like if you wanted hand tools, they'll send you a catalog with every hand tool they sell with the price. It's a current price, and they'll stick to it. Now, I dealt with this person down here, CHARIS, his first name, family name Li, L-I. She's been excellent. Like I said, I got the fuse holders through her, and then I was looking down to see about the some terminal blocks, and I recognized the company name, and I was real pleased with the fuse holders. I got them with lights that indicate whether they're on or off, which is a nice sort of added touch. But they have a wide product line, and you don't need a 15 amp fuse and number 14 wire to run an LED light bulb. And I'm going to show you in a minute why that makes a difference to us. If you have say you had a 10 watt LED light bulb on 220 volts, that's 0.2 amp, 0.2 of an amp, 0.22 of an amp. So obviously a 15 amp breaker would run, I'm not going to calculate it, easy to say 70, 80 bulbs. And so you have to, if you put a breaker in there, it's 15 amp, all the wire downstream of that has to be able to handle 15 amps. Otherwise, the wire will catch fire before the breaker trips. So being able to fuse stuff for a smaller wire saves a lot of money on wire. I don't need to show you the conversation on buying these parts and the Alibaba stuff. It's on a previous video, but this is a good sales lady to deal with. CHARISLI. Now let's show you why it's important that we want to put fuse holders and why we want to have terminal blocks. Okay. This is wiring only for lights and only at the mezzanine level of the house. Let's just zoom in here to a place. These represent terminal blocks, and these are wire numbers, or actually the switches and wire numbers. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circuits, 6 circuits. And I don't know if I have a key. Well, this says these switches are the kitchen door leading into the dining room. There's a lot of information for the electrician on here that's not necessarily what we're doing now. this is symbolic representation. So what we have here is a string of lights in the center of the spider beam. It's about a 4-foot diameter circle, 10 lights. And then we go out on the spider beam, and it's the diameter of that is 14 feet. And then in the fan exits up there, the place where people tend to sleep on the roof, there's a ring of lights. There's a ring of lights downstairs that shine across the atrium in front of each of the rooms downstairs facing. They bounce the light off the wall. And then you have a ring of lights. These are most of these are floodlight fixtures. They were the nicest looking thing we could find and a decent price. Well made. We bought a lot of Hubble Bell. It's cast aluminum pieces with ceramic sockets for the bulbs. Comes with the ability to mount 2 bulbs with a weatherproof gasket around where the bulb goes in, so they'll work underwater. And we bought some from All Home in the Philippines that are an engineered plastic. They're a little more attractive than the Hubble Bells, so we're using them inside the house. The Hubble Bells are more of an industrial look. And what is that? I've not got a clue. Some electrical device. Today it just goes right on by me. I have no idea. Okay. The way this thing works, we have an outer ring here. And it's got a lot of wires. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that must be 12 wires. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Takes 12 wires for these 3 three-way switches, another 12 wires for these 3. These are actually 4-way switches because they're not an end. 3-way switch goes on the end of a line and 4 ways go in between. So this is in one section of the house. Like divided across here is a room, and then the room is a straight line on this side. It's sort of trapezoidal-shaped rooms. It's 26 feet on this longer wall and 22 feet on this wall. Not real small rooms. If they were small, the odd shape would be odd, but it's not because the rooms are so big. In any event, we got 24 wires here that is required to run these switches. And you're going to put power in on one end. You know, this could all be. This is going to run 192 LED light bulbs, ranging from 4 watts to 11. The most common would be 4, and there's quite a few 6s, and the 11s are only for long-range spotlights. Anyway, the electric comes in here, goes around this ring until it ducks down to go through a bunch of these switches. And it ends up coming to the other end of the ring. Power went in this way. And over here, this is a 3-way switch. This is where the end of the line for all the switches that turn lights on and off is. And each of these switches here is connected to one of 6 interior circles of wire. So everything is connected to this red wire on the outside that goes all the way around. And then you jumper whatever light bulb you want to be on in that room, on that switch, to this wire. Now remember, this is only lights. This is no. Well, we don't have we have wiring in the ceilings for 52-inch paddle fans with light sockets on them. We may or may not use them. The house is plenty cool without them. And old people, we don't want to sleep in a draft. And we do have a 7-meter fan in this big hole here. To wire up from our power room, which is the front half of this room, the other half's master bathroom. Other 2/3 is master bathroom. To get to here, we have to go all the way around that. So we're going to have a bunch of connections made out in the middle of nowhere, or we're going to have some really long home runs of wires. But using this racetrack approach, we haven't got that problem. I'm not sure what's going on right here. I guess it's because we haven't. This actually would be connected. We're only showing 3 sets of 3 and 4-way switches, but there'll be another one over in here someplace. So this is actually will continue. All this wire was put in the house because we didn't know which rooms we were going to put switches for all these different functions. We wanted, for security purposes, if we hear a noise in the house, we want to be able to, from various bedrooms, kick on lights all over the place. You've turned on 192 lights. It's going to take a brave soul there to try to bust that many bulbs or stand his ground, especially if he's in the light and he can't see everybody that's in the dark. What do we got down here? Okay. This is a sub panel. They're built in flush into the columns above the main living floor. This columns goes up to the fan deck, and there's one of these in every column. They're in the little like things that look like a room that aren't a room. And this is just showing in general how you wire up a light bulb or with a switch, a receptacle, various kind of things. But you see, we run all the wires in from the pipes. And there's 14. Wait, 4, 5, 9, 13. There's 17 conduits into each of these boxes. Many of them have 7 wires. So if you had an average of 4 wires, well, probably average of 5 times 17, 50. That's 85 wires coming into that little box. If you'll notice that these are the breakers, these rectangular things. You got 2 screws. We call it high screw, low screw. All the high screws are the same polarity. There's no voltage difference between this high screw and that high screw, or between this low screw and that low screw and this low screw. The power comes in Filipino style into one 60 amp breaker for most rooms, 70 amp for the laundry, the kitchen, and the pantry. But the rest of them are 60. So you have 7 of them 60 amp and 3 of them are 70 amp. But we have to break that down to get it to run light bulbs and receptacles. So we're working with 7 breakers with a total of 14 screws. And how many wires did we have? 50. 85 wires to go on to 14 screws. Huh. Obviously, we can't put all those wires under a screw. And sometimes you've got more than one wall receptacle going into a breaker. You wouldn't have an individual breaker for every wall receptacle, but there's 7 wall receptacles in every room. So you, and plus it's a triplex arrangement. I got 3 duplex receptacles in one box. 2 of them are 220, one of them's 110. The 110 doesn't go through this. It's on a toroidal transformer down in the power room. It comes up here and just dumps the wires into this box. That's another wire, and I don't count that in the 70s. There's actually 18 wires 18 conduits. But that'll also go down here to terminal strips. So with the terminal strips, we can group bunches of wires together and do all our connections that are going to be to the same breaker on the terminal strip. And that way we can have a single wire on each screw up in the breaker box. This breaker box is pretty much to scale. And if you know what size, a physical size of breakers, if you've ever held one in your hand, you know that 7/8 of an inch in here, you can't see down in the depth of that box. You can't see up there what's under the screw and what's not. So you pop the breaker out, you put all the wires on it, and when you put it back in there, you hope you don't twist something to make them loose, which, you know, causes heat and burns things up. So it's almost impossible to get 4 or 5 wires under a screw. So I went with terminal blocks. I'm familiar with them in industry. I did my machine shop with them for the machine tools. I have no idea what this down here is either. You can ignore this over here. This is just a CAD block. This is the block, and then it was copied, and then a box put around it, and then it was just moved over to here. So this is absolutely nothing but background drawing stuff. Okay, all green wires go to the larger grounding bar. We were using solid brass grounding bars when we wired the house. We never got the wiring totally finished. Never got signed off on the electrical inspection. And anyway, the green wires are going to go onto one grounding bus, and it's got 2 rods drove in the ground down in the power room, and 1 drove in the ground out at the meter base. And then we have white wires that have nothing to do with this. They're the 110 side. And then we have all the receptacles and lights in the house, and that's another bunch of terminal blocks. Separate wire pairs coming out of conduit and mark with colored tape at both ends of the wire close to the end of the conduit. Any white wires connect the same as the colored wires, but do not cut the white wires shorter. In other words, I didn't know exactly where these metal bars were going to be sticking in there. We we didn't put standoffs under the terminal blocks. What we did was we put the terminal blocks on a metal piece. Benji Boy made them. They're the same as they use for the window grills, like 1.5 inch wide, 3/16 thick, basically. It's 0.209 thick in inches. Anyway, that spaces them up 1.5 inches, and we can run wires underneath of the terminal blocks, back and forth, and bundle them, you know, with wire ties and whatever. And they're not running over top of everything where you're trying to wire. Any wires that are connected to anything are on the top of the mess, and the rest of them are in the background. Anyway, this is not as complicated as it looks, because you're going to do one room, like, actually you don't have that. You have the, you got wires coming up out of a conduit, they go to a terminal block. If they're not going to anything else, they go to another terminal block and duck down into the concrete and come back up in the next room. And the lights, if you have a light that's in this wedge and you want it on with one of the 6, we call them ring switches, then it'll have a single wire connected. The top screws are all the control wires, and the bottom screws is the other half of the 220. And I can't remember what that is. Looks important though. I don't know. But I'll guarantee they're bolted to the house someplace. So all you're doing is you're coming up out of a pipe with 6 wires, and then you're going down into another pipe with 6 wires that comes up in the next room. And it's no more complicated than that. The 3 and 4-way switches, the 4-way switches with so many wires that it had made the drawing really big. You have to print this somehow and give it to the electrician. So this is a more compact version. It's well, it's 12 wires. Okay, so this is where they're fed from. This is the end where there's apparently going to use 2 breakers to feed all the lights in the house. So these will have about 100 bulbs on them. And of course, you got to remember these are can be any size up to 60 amp, but we're going to use a 15 because that's overkill. This is the some dimensions of those. Anyway, these terminal blocks we used when we did the initial wiring, they were rated for a number 12 wire, but they're not rated for 2 number 12 wires. So when you go to try to connect something into them, makes 2 wires on one side and 1 wire on the other side. And the wiring was really difficult to put in, especially when they were all bolted down back up in the concrete hole. So what we're going to do is we're going to change these terminal blocks off the metal bars. We have the bar mounted. We're going to put DIN rail on this and use the new style terminal blocks. Now I'm going to end this video here just because it's long. But remember, we're only looking here at lights. Also coming up into these sub panels, you have receptacles all over the house, and you have designated breakers for future split aircon units if somebody wanted them. You know, some family member 2 generations from now might want to put air conditioning in this house. It's plenty cool just by its design. We have no problem with temperatures or ventilation. But if you wanted to split aircon, you need a dedicated circuit. Also, if we turn this into a bed and breakfast, there's 4 extra bedrooms on the first level down there, and we want to have dedicated lines for refrigerators. So those will come up here, and those aren't receptacles. So you have the 7 receptacles, and 2 of those have to be dedicated lines. So that's a bunch more wires. You're only looking at lights here. But the terminal blocks in this box are going to be seeing all of it. And that's why we have so many sub panels, because we got a lot of wires. So we're going to change over now to what? I think we'll look at some of the parts I bought from CHARIS and explain what they are and how you put them together. And that'll be on the next video. We're going to end this video now. Say a little prayer for all the people that have still getting COVID. And hopefully we'll get to be able to travel on passport only back to the Philippines and get back to work on this job. They're just over there. We got them pouring concrete. It's simple. They understand pretty much exactly how we do it. We do it different than everybody else. So once you got a trained crew, you sure don't want to lose them. But they're doing the concrete for the PV panels and the inverters and batteries and all that kind of stuff. It's 56 panels. Panels from Andre Rosen in China. Good product, good price. Delivery sucks, but the first thing ordered is going to be the last thing to arrive. But all the products we've bought, we've been pleased with. But I was impressed with these fuse holders, and so when I saw this company sold the terminal blocks. I thought it was worth a look. And I looked at them. I said, "No, these are really good." I've been paying for this size of block in the U.S. I've been paying $1.76 a piece, and they had them listed for as low as 7 cents, depending on what model it was. The model I bought were 11 cents a piece. Okay, end of this video, and we're gonna come back with another video.